building a community of lifelong learners.
Welcome to Teach Yourself series. This is lesson 4 of Microsoft Excel. This course is for intermediate level of Excel user. It is meant to provide additional knowledge necessary in Excel. At the end of this course, you'll be proficient and confident to apply the knowledge. I hope you enjoy. Let's start the course. Welcome to lesson 4. In this lesson we will cover the following topics. To begin with, we start with Introduction to Excel grouping and subtotals. Then on section 2, we will discuss Excel named ranges. Next, we will cover sortings and filtering functions. We will discuss about data validation on section 4. Then, we end this lesson with conditional formatting. Now let's start with Introduction of Excel grouping and subtotals. Excel grouping allows parts of the data in table to be hidden and to be summarized, thus more manageable. By using hide and show features and Excel functions such as sum, average, and count. So you can quickly perform tasks on multiple worksheets at the same time by grouping worksheets together. We will discuss the following topics: grouping rows or columns, hiding and show groups, creating subtotals, viewing groups by level, removing subtotals. Now, let's start with our exercise. Excel allows you to organize data into groups, and also easily show and hide different sections of worksheet. To group columns, in our exercise, first, we select columns C, D and E. Then, select the Data tab on the ribbon, then click the Group command. The selected rows or columns will be grouped. In our example, columns C, D, and E are grouped. To ungroup data, first we select the grouped columns, in our example columns C, D, and E. Then click the Ungroup command. For our next exercise, we will undo the ungrouping of data. To hide a group, click the minus sign, also known as the Hide Detail button. The group will be hidden. To show a hidden group, click the plus sign, also known as the Show Detail button. The Subtotal command allows you to create groups and use common functions like sum, count, and average to help summarize your data. To create a subtotal, first, we need to sort our worksheet by the data we want to subtotal. Now our worksheet has been sorted. In our example, we need to create a subtotal for each month. We select the Data tab, then click the Subtotal command. The Subtotal dialog box will appear. Click the drop-down arrow. For the At each change in field, we'll select Date. In the Use function field, we'll select Sum, to count the total orders for each month. In the Add Subtotal to field, we select Order, then click OK. Now, our worksheet will be outlined into groups, and the subtotal is listed for each month, showing the total amount of order every month. To view groups by level. When we created subtotals, our worksheet is divided into different levels. We can switch between these levels by clicking the level buttons to the left of the worksheet. We can click level 1, which contains only the grand total. We can click level 2 to show the next level. Or, we can click level 3 to expand all our worksheet data. We can use the Show and Hide Detail buttons to show and hide the groups within the outline. To remove subtotals, first, select the Data tab, then click the Subtotal command. The Subtotal dialog box will appear. Then click Remove All. All worksheet data will be ungrouped, and the subtotals will be removed. This concludes our discussion about Excel grouping and subtotal. Excel named ranges make formulas easier to read and understand. With Excel named ranges, formulas would be easier to understand and debug. It is also simplify the creation of complicated spreadsheets and macros. We will discuss the following topics: creating named ranges, managing named ranges, important keyboard shortcuts, using offset and index formulas. Without further ado, let's start with our exercise. In Excel, you can give a name to a cell, or a range of cells. In our example, instead of using cell reference such as cell B2 to B10, we could use sales named range. Instead of using cell reference, from cell C2 to cell C10, we could use order as named range. Using cell references to refer to data can save time. This is how create named ranges in Excel using define name. First, select the range for which you want to create. In this case, from cell B2 to B10. Then, go to Formulas. And click Define Name. Excel dialog box will appear. Type the name you want to assign to the selected data range. You can specify the scope as the entire workbook, or a specific worksheet, then click OK. This is the other method to create named range. First, select the data range for which you want to create a name. Then on the name box, on the left of formula bar, type the named range and hit enter. In our example, we will create named range order for selected range cell from C2 to C10. How do you manage or remember the Excel named range that you created? Especially when data sets is large and complex. First, go to the Formulas tab, then in the defined named group, click drop down arrow on Use in Formula. This will give you a list of all the named ranges in that workbook. To use a named range in Formulas or a cell, double-click on it. How to edit named ranges in Excel. This is how to do it. We can edit our existing named range with the following steps. First, go to the Formulas tab and click on Name Manager. The Name Manager dialog box will appear. Click Edit to edit the name or the range. Then hit OK. And Close button. In the same steps, you can also delete the named range if you find it necessary. The following are keyboard shortcuts for working with named ranges in Excel. Press F3 key to get a list of all the named ranges and pasting it in formula. Press Ctrl plus F3 command to create new name using Name Manager dialog box. Press Ctrl plus Shift key and F3 key to create named ranges. The above exercise that we created are static named range. Static named range means we have to update the reference manually each time if we have new set of data. This is very time consuming if our data is keep expanding. The solution is to create dynamic named range. In our exercise, we will create a dynamic named range that automatically add new data in our data reference by using Excel formula. First, go to the Formula tab and click on Define Name. Then, in the New Name dialog box, type the following: Name, Order, Scope, Workbook. In the Refers to field, we would enter the following formula, which means to include all new data range up to row 15th. We can adjust this number based on our requirement data set. Then click OK to confirm. Lastly, we could also use offset function to create a dynamic named ranges in Excel. The same steps and concept as index function above. This concludes our discussion about named range in Excel. Excel filtering gives the ability to filter a column of data you need to see, thus reducing complexity, and you could analyze the data better. With Excel sorting tool, it further enhance your data in sorted manner to your preferences. For example, filter the data based on certain date range, and then sort the date from oldest to latest. In this chapter, we will discuss the following topics: data sorting, multi-levels of sorting, data filtering, advanced filtering. Now, let's start with our exercise. You can sort Excel data for entire worksheet or just a cell range. If you sort the entire sheet, Excel will organize your entire worksheet, including related data across each row will be organized too. Whereas, sorting only range means only the data in selected range are sorted. In our example, we will sort the salesperson alphabetically. First, we select cell B2. Then, we select the Data tab on the ribbon, and then click the AZ command to sort A to Z. The worksheet will be sorted by the selected column. In our example, the worksheet is now sorted by sales name, in alphabetical order. In the next exercise, we will sort by cell range. First, we select the cell range, in this case we select cell A1 to cell B10. Then, we select the Data tab on the ribbon, then click the Sort command. On the Sort dialog box, we will choose the column we want to sort, in this case, we select Sales column. And we will decide the sorting order, in our example, we'll use Z to A and click OK. The cell range will be sorted by the selected column. Notice that the other content in the worksheet was not affected by the sort. In our next exercise, we will add level to our sorting exercise. This allows for more control over how our data is sorted by adding multiple levels to any sort. First, we select the cell range, in this case we select cell A1 to cell E10. Then, we select the Data tab, and click the Sort command. On the Sort dialog box, we will choose the column we want to sort, in this case, we select Sales column, and choose A to Z on sort order. Then, we click Add Level button, and we select by order column, choose largest to smallest, and click OK. Our data will be sorted by salesperson alphabetically with order from largest to smallest. Since we select all cell range, thus the other content in the worksheet also affected by the sort. Now, let's move on with next topic, which is filtering. Excel filtering can be used to narrow down the data in our worksheet, allowing to view only the information we need. Especially, if the worksheet contains a lot of content, it can be difficult to find information quickly. In order for filtering to work correctly, the worksheet should include a header row. In our exercise, our worksheet is identified by the header rows, such as number, sales, order, month, and date. First, select the Data tab, then click the Filter command. Then, a drop-down arrow will appear in the header cell for each column. Click the drop-down arrow for the column you want to filter. In our example, we will filter by sales name by selecting one specific name and click OK. The data will be filtered, and hide any content that doesn't match the criteria. We could also apply multiple filters, which help narrow down your results. In our example, we click drop-down arrow for the column month, and we select January. The new filter will be applied, showing data that we need. In the next exercise, we want to remove the filter. First, click the drop-down arrow for the filter we want to clear. In our example, we'll clear the filter in column D. Then, we will select Clear Filter from month, comma. The filter will be cleared from the column. The previously hidden data will be displayed. In order to remove all filters from your worksheet, we click the Filter command on the Data tab. Excel includes many advanced filtering tools, including search, text, date, and number filtering, which allow to narrow our search results and find exactly what we need to find. In our exercise, select the Data tab, then click the Filter command. A drop-down arrow will appear in the header cell for each column. Then, the Filter menu will appear. Enter a search term into the search box. Or, we could select Text Filters, and click Contains. On the dialog box, type the text we want to find and click OK. In our example, we will find all sales personnel by name Abigail. We could perform another advanced filtering. In our example, we will find all order less than $50. Click the drop-down arrow on Order column. And click Number Filters, and select Less Than. On the dialog box, we will type 50 and click OK. All orders less than $50 will be selected. This concludes our discussion about data sorting and filtering in Excel. This chapter discusses about data validation in Excel. Data validation allows you to control the type of data entered into your worksheet. For example, we could limit data entries based on a selection from a drop-down list. Or we could restrict certain data entries, such as dates or numbers, outside of a predetermined range. We will cover the following topics for discussion: data validation criteria, input message, customizing error messages, circle invalid entries. Now, let's start with our exercise. In our exercise, we will use data validation to create a simple survey form, which lets user to input data with a validation to ensure correct value is entered in the form. To create data validation rule, first, we select cell C3. Then, we select Data tab, and click Data Validation. On the Settings tab, in the Allow list, we select Whole Number. In the Data list, we select Between. And, we enter the minimum as 10, and maximum values as 100. We need to input message, the default is blank. This messages will appear when user selects the cell, it will tell the user what to enter. On the Input Message tab, make sure a check mark is on, show input message when cell is selected. Then, we enter a title, such as, please enter age. Then, we type the message, in this case, we enter, please enter number between 10 to 100. We also need error alert. This will prompt user to enter the correct value that we want, which is between 10 and 100. Click Error Alert tab, and make sure check mark is on, show error alert after invalid data is entered. Enter a title, in this case, we will put error value. Then, enter an error message, in this case we will type, incorrect number, please enter number between 10 to 100. Then, finally, we hit OK button. Now, let's test our data validation. When we select cell C3, there will be square box, telling us to enter number between 10 to 100. When we deselect cell C3, the square box will go away. Now, let's type number 5 on cell C3, and hit enter. The error message will pop up, telling us error value. We could press retry button, which would allow us to edit the number, or cancel button which would erase our number. In our second exercise, we will create drop-down list. On cell C4, we want user to select the data from our drop-down list, which is male or female for gender. First, we create new sheet, which is now sheet 2. We create named range, that contains male on A1 and female on A2, and we call this named range as gender. If you recall, we did exercise on named range earlier. Then, we switch to sheet 1, and select cell C4, and click Data tab and click Data Validation command. We would select List, from Allow drop-down, and on the source, we would type =gender, and click OK. Now, let's select cell C4, this time, we would have drop-down arrow on cell C4. If we click the drop-down arrow, it would have either male or female entry. As shown on this exercise, data validation will ensure the correctness of data being entered. In our last exercise, we will discuss the feature called Circle Invalid Data. As you can see on the screen, sales personnel Abigail Abraham has entered her monthly sales figures from January to December. Now, we want to see in which month the sales figure is below the target. First, we select the cell range from C6 to C17. And we go to Data tab, and click Data Validation. We will select whole number on Allow drop-down list, and we select Between for data. We enter minimum 50, maximum as 200 and click OK. Next, we click Data Validation drop-down arrow, and select Circle Invalid Data. Now, those figures below the specified range, between 50 to 200 will be circled. To remove data validation, simply select the cell range, then click Data Validation, and click Clear All button. This exercise demonstrates that you can easily find any incorrect value. Supposing you have a range of data, which do not meet your criteria or conditions. This exercise concludes our discussion about data validation in Excel. This is the last chapter of Lesson 4. This chapter will discuss conditional formatting in Excel. Conditional formatting make changes to the appearance of a cell range based on a condition or criteria. For example, we could highlight the text to become red color if condition is met. We will cover the following topics in conditional formatting. First, we start with introduction to conditional formatting. Then, we will discuss conditional formatting using formula. And finally, some examples. Now, let's start with our exercise. Conditional formatting allows us to change cell formatting style, depending on the cell's value. In our next exercise, we will select cell range, from cell C4 to cell C15. Then, we go to Home tab, and click Conditional Formatting. Next, we will select Highlight Cells Rules, then choose Greater Than. On the dialog box, we will enter value 75, and select the default color, and click OK. As you can see on the result, the cell with value greater than 75, is highlighted in light red color. If we change the value of the cell, for example cell C4 with 80, then conditional formatting will also follow. There are other values besides greater than, such as less than a value, between two values, equal to a value, etc. To clear conditional formatting, we have to select the range cell C4 to cell C15 again. Then, click Conditional Formatting, and select Clear Rules, and click Clear Rules from selected cells. Now, let's move on with the next exercise, top-bottom rules. The rules basically will highlight cells that are above average. First, we select cell range, from cell C4 to cell C15 again. Then, go to Home tab, and select Conditional Formatting. This time, we select top-bottom rules, and select below average. We will choose default formatting style, and click OK button. Excel will check and calculates the average, and highlight the cells that below average value. Besides the criteria that we select, which is below average, there are others, such as top 10 items, top 10%, bottom 10 items, etc. For this exercise, we will clear the conditional formatting for the selected cells. Now, let's perform conditional formatting with formulas exercise. We will use a formula to determine which cells to format. We will formulas that apply conditional formatting to evaluate to true or false. First, we select the cell range, which cell C4 to cell C15. Then, we click Conditional Formatting, and click New Rule. On the dialog box that pop up, we will select Use a formula to determine which cells to format. Then, we enter the formula. This formula, equals ISOD, C4. On Formatting Style, we click Format button, then select Green on Fill tab and click OK. Then, we click OK button again. Excel will highlight selected cells that contains odd numbers. This exercise concludes our lesson 4. I hope you find the lesson is useful and inspiring, and will continue with the next lesson. Thank you, and have a nice day.